Today's lesson is the sine and cosine ratios. Yesterday we talked about we need to make sure that our calculator is in degree mode. And we have directions from yesterday. So I'm going to make sure I go to mode and switch it to degree before I start working. So I want to find the sine of R, sine of S, cosine of R, and cosine of S. We want to write it as a fraction and as a decimal rounded 4 decimal places. So if I have R as my reference angle, I would label my hypotenuse, opposite, and adjacent. So sine by definition means I am opposite divided by hypotenuse. So opposite is 16 and my hypotenuse is 65. And that's approximately 0.2462. Cosine is adjacent divided by the hypotenuse. So adjacent is 63 divided by 65, and that's approximately 9692. Okay, so if I set up and have S as my reference angle, my hypotenuse is still 65, but opposite is now 63, and adjacent is 16. So my sine of angle S is 63 over 65, which we said is already approximately 9692. And my cosine is going to be adjacent, which is 16 divided by 65, which is approximately 0.2462. So I need to recognize that the sine of one angle equals the cosine of the other angle. So they are related. Okay, so sine and cosine are complementary. So we already talked about complementary at the beginning of the year. Complementary angles, when I might add them together, they total 90 degrees. Okay. So the sine of an acute angle is equal to the cosine of its complement. And the cosine of an acute angle is equal to the sine of its complement. Okay, so if I want to write the sine of 56 degrees in terms of cosine, I would take 90 minus 56, and I get 34. So this would be the cosine of 34 degrees. Oops, there we go. 34 degrees. If I want to write the cosine of 23 in terms of sine, I'm going to take 90 minus 23, and I get 67. So this would be the sine of 67 degrees. Okay, can you try 4 and 5? You pause the video and tell me what you get. Okay, how did you do? So 90 minus 42 is 48. So this would be the cosine of 48 degrees. And 90 minus 64 is 26. So this would be the sine of 26 degrees. How did you do? All right, so let's do some problems. We are trying to solve for sides or angles. Okay, find the variable using sine and cosine. Round to the nearest tenth. So tenth means that's 1 decimal place right here. Okay, so I'm going to start out with my reference angle is going to be 26. So 14 is my hypotenuse, opposite, and adjacent. So I'm going to start out with, I'm going to say the sine of 26 degrees is opposite, which is x, divided by the hypotenuse, which is 14. So x equals 14 times the sine of 26 degrees. Put the number to the left of the trig word so you don't accidentally multiply times the angle. So rounding to tenths, I get x is approximately 6.1 units. I don't have any units, so I'm going to just put generic units. Okay, to solve for y, I'm going to say the cosine of 26 degrees is y divided by 14, so adjacent divided by the hypotenuse. So I get y equals 14 times the cosine of 26 degrees. Rounding to tenths, I get y is about 12.6 units. Okay, can you try number 7? Can you pause the video while you try this? So I'm going to say 65 is my reference angle. So 8 is my hypotenuse, opposite, adjacent. So I'm going to say the sine of 65 degrees is my opposite, t, divided by my hypotenuse, 8. So t equals 8 times the sine of 65 degrees. Rounding to tenths, I get about 7.3 units. And the cosine of 65 degrees is my adjacent, u, divided by 8. So I get u equals 8 times the cosine of 65 degrees, which is approximately 3.4 units. How'd you do?